Good afternoon and welcome to our In Dialogue series. This month, our September topic is going to be risky play and outdoor play. I'm Holly Dalfrez. I'm the In Dialogue director here at LCM, and we're so pleased today to welcome Rebecca Connick and Nicole Bryson, who are going to talk with us a little bit about risky play, outdoor play, the importance of allowing kids of all ages,
Yes.
but especially young children, to have that opportunity to take those risks in a safe environment. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
absolutely, we're so glad that y'all are here, and I think this is a really important thing for parents to hear because there always are questions about what's okay, what's not okay, what should they be able to do. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what constitutes risky play?
Sure. So risky play is a form of free play, usually outside, where kids are driven by their intrinsic motivation for exploration and for challenge. And so it might look different depending on where they are playing, but it usually entails challenging themselves, challenging their motor skills, challenging their sensory skills, challenging to the point of where you're maybe worried a little bit about it, because that's where the word risky comes from. But I think overall, it's kind of the thing that I like to think about is it's intrinsically motivated. It is what they are trying to do to explore their environment and challenge their motor and sensory systems.
Absolutely. So what are some of the benefits that come from having children be able to have that free choice of a little bit of risk?
Yeah, there's so much benefit for the motor system, first off. They are having to figure out how to access the playground, how to access their environment in a way that is fun for them. So it usually includes climbing and jumping and high surfaces. Speed is another really big one. Kids love to challenge how fast they can go, how high they can go. Challenging their balance. And oftentimes too, I think it's challenging their ability to to have a goal and meet it, and to feel confidence from meeting that motor goal.
Right.
And it's when it's self-driven and I want to get to the top of that, and then they can do it.
Right.
That's such a part
It's
of
an
childhood.
accomplishment.
Yeah,
Yes,
such a part
yes,
of childhood,
yes.
for sure.
I think it also challenges our trust as parents, which can be really, really hard in this day and age of parent anxiety and parent worries. We watch our kids climb to the top of something and our wheels just start turning and we're thinking about all the things that could happen. And it's really scary, right? To see our kids do something that we aren't totally sure they're capable of yet.
Right.
But to give them the space to try while also being ready and available in case they get hurt. I have 2 young boys, and so I know this world very well, but they definitely are challenging our trust in our relationship.
Absolutely.
In addition to challenging their body in different ways. And there's a balance there, right? And we have to be there to support them.
And I think there's a little bit of an element of when we were younger, sometimes our parents didn't always know what we were doing.
Yes.
We would go into the backyard, or I lived on a corner and we would play on the corners, and as long as you came home and all your limbs were there and you weren't bleeding, you were good. And so you didn't really know how many times I jumped over the ditch or whatever.
Yeah,
But,
and it's so dependent too on what kind of play environment you have access to.
yes.
A lot of times, outdoor play is a privilege to have a safe space where kids can play together outdoors. There is so much risky play that can happen when there's trees and hills and branches and logs, and nature-based play is inherently so risky. But it's beautiful for learning, and it's so, so important for child development. I think when we think about play and all the benefits for it, kids learn when there's a just right challenge. And that risky play is them figuring out what that just right challenge is and what their
Yes.
limits are. And so much learning happens when they have those experiences. I think, from a motor perspective, of course, and from a body perspective, sure, they're gaining motor skills and they're learning that. But they're also just learning their limits and testing their limits.
Absolutely.
And the confidence that can build is incredible, especially when we give kids repeated opportunities to try risky play. They are building that intrinsic motivation that they're going to take with them to school when academics get hard, to try things again and again and again until they learn it. right? I think, we were talking about this on the way here, and some of the things I remember from my childhood were a little bit of like fear-based language around risky play.
Yes.
And I was a clumsy kid, so I think it was hard for my parents to feel trust in my skills. And so there was a lot of, if you do that, you will break an arm or you will break your neck.
Yes, yes.
And while that is a possibility, it's also not a known. And we talk a lot about the language that we can use around risky play. And I have to often reel myself in and work on my self-regulation when my two boys are engaging in this kind of play. And I have to ask them, do you feel safe? And if they feel safe, then that means that they have a plan. They have something that they're thinking about. And if they feel safe, then I should feel safe. We can point out the risks, and there's ways to do that. But telling them that danger will happen isn't teaching them to problem solve. It isn't teaching them to be critical thinkers.
Figure it out.
It isn't teaching them environmental awareness or spatial observation. We want kids that can look around the room and see what they can explore in different ways
Right.
to do it, instead of just being like, oh, that's scary. I might fall.
And the importance of making a plan
Yes,
is
absolutely.
such a big part of it. And so I know when I was a young teacher, I would say, oh, you be careful, but
Right.
be careful is such a nebulous thing as well. So even just saying, do you have a plan? I
Exactly.
see you're very high, and kind of giving them the words that go with that.
We love phrases that start with I wonder.
Yes.
We use those all the time. I wonder what you're thinking about when you get to that top. I wonder what you might do to get down in a safe way. Because then you're not telling them what to do or what they should or shouldn't be doing. It's more just like, have you thought about this?
Right, right.
Can you tell me that you've thought about this? And just checking in with the plan that they have.
And it gives you the chance to introduce some of that more advanced language as well. Do you have
Absolutely.
a strategy? What are some of the things that you've considered? Some of those bigger words that get beyond sad, mad, glad. Happy.
Exactly. And something that I often find myself having to practice is, my kids are 4 and 6, and so everything my 6-year-old does, my 4-year-old wants to do, and his motor skills are different, his critical thinking skills are different, his environmental awareness is different.
Absolutely.
And so they have a school with all this bamboo in the back, and I'll sometimes come to pick them up, and they're like way up there in the bamboo. And I love that school lets them do that.
Yeah.
But sometimes my younger son will panic and say, I need help getting down. And I'll say, okay, I'm here to help you. Let's think about where we can put this foot. Let's scaffold it for you. I'm not going to rescue you from this situation. Obviously, if there's really big risk involved, I'm going to rescue. But let's problem solve it. Let's make you feel confident. Let's build the critical thinking, the problem solving, all of that, so that you can do this.
Right. And those are important things for parents to know as well.
Absolutely.
That it's okay to have a little bit of fear for how your children are navigating things, but also the importance of helping them to build in that confidence in their own skills.
Absolutely.
I really like the phrase doing dangerous things carefully, because
That's
it's the
great.
carefully part that we want to kind of promote,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We want them to understand for their future of understanding their limits, what they are and are not okay with, concepts of consent with play with peers. All of that can be beautiful to work on through risky play. And when we do this risky play carefully, that is like the best
The
of all
biggest
the
part of
worlds.
it, yes. Well, that leads to my question about the social elements of risky play. Talk a little bit about what the benefits of the social elements of risky play can be.
Yeah, there's been some studies that talk about confidence and courage and kids' self-perception of themselves as part of their peer groups when they're playing. And a lot of that has to do with accomplishment and like feeling like they're doing this impressive thing. And so a lot of times kids can work together to achieve a goal, like we're gonna climb this tree together. We're gonna problem solve how to get all of our friends up there. If we assess our own risk, there's also ways that kids can help other kids assess their risk. And so being
Or teach them.
Yeah, or teach
Yes,
the younger kids or the
yes.
ones that are maybe not quite sure. So it's almost like a little community that can work on a goal together.
Right.
When we kind of have these opportunities for risk.
And also recognizing what the skills are of the people that are a part of that
Yes.
group too. Like, okay, well, I know, so-and-so knows how to tie his shoes. So we have to make sure if we have that question, we go to that person. That person's a really good climber. So if I get up there and I'm not sure what to do, he can help me, figure out how to get down. So.
And a way that like parents or teachers, caregivers can support these situations, we often recommend being the narrator, like the sportscaster.
Yes.
I heard somebody say that they have an idea, or I heard somebody say stop, that they don't feel safe yet. And just like helping the group dynamic check in with everybody.
Sort of reset. Yeah. That's a great way of helping build confidence, but also building community at the same time.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, what about some of the like psychological effects that can carry forward that are a part of that?
A lot of it is kids feel so proud when they conquer their fear. Like these are small fears. I think there's a difference between a big fear and a small fear. And parents will know, judging on their child's reaction if this is a big fear or a small fear. But conquering your little fears really helps to promote a child who isn't necessarily always anxious with challenge. And so it's hard when we back away from our fears, or when we feel, we don't feel confident enough to conquer those small fears. That's maybe when we might be anxious of them because we have not yet faced them.
Right.
And so having these small, safe, controlled opportunities to conquer fear can really promote a child's ability to adjust and meet challenge with confidence rather than anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think it brings it back to that intrinsic motivation.
Absolutely. Yes. This idea that, what is it you want to try? Like, what's a challenge for you?
Yeah, and it's an incredible thing to witness. Like, I remember my son practicing the monkey bars for weeks. Every time we went anywhere, any park, he's on the monkey bars, back and forth, and he's falling time and time again. And sometimes he has to come check in with me because he hurt himself and he wants me to look at his boo-boo, but he just goes back and he tries it again over and over. And I remember when he finally accomplished it, just like how proud he was.
Absolutely.
And then he was telling his friends, this is what you need to do. You need to swing your body this way and then you grab with this arm. And it's really cool to see them tackle these seemingly small things that they work so hard at.
And it lays the foundation for so many other things to come. So now there's a progression that you have to work through to do certain things.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's sticking with something through its fruition, which is so valuable for executive function and like leader skills, to be able to make a plan, execute it, problem solve it when it's not working, and then reach your goal. Like that's such a huge life skill.
Right.
An attention span, we are sticking with a task even when it gets hard. We're not backing down. We're coming back to it over and over in an age of, technology and quick dopamine hits where we don't like something we see and we move on to the next video pretty quickly.
Right.
This is building that attention span over time too, which is going to impact executive function skills and so much more.
Absolutely. Well, so if there's a parent that's just kind of realizing, oh wait, I need to let my child have a little bit more risk, where can they start? What are some things that they can start to do as they're kind of moving forward, or?
I think we both are huge proponents of understanding your own body as a parent and understanding your ability to tolerate stress or anxiety when it comes to these kinds of things. A lot of times if we're in touch and aware of what's happening within our own body, like I know I get anxious when I watch my child challenge themselves in some way in a motor risk kind of perspective. And so being in touch with that and recognizing that and helping your own body's regulation and response to that will help you move forward with intentional decisions about it. Like, is this a calculated risk scenario that I feel like they can be safe with? Is this a small risk, where maybe the risk of injury is a boo-boo on their knee versus a big fall. So like recognizing the signs in your own body maybe when you're feeling anxious or stressed, and then thinking about what you can do to help your own body in response.
Yeah, we believe a lot in like mantras, and having a mantra for something that is really hard or challenging. So we recommend it for teachers a lot, or parents when they have a reoccurring challenging situation. So if you have a kid that really enjoys risky play and you're going to the playground, you can create a mantra that my child is exploring their body and I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to be near them, but I'm going to stay calm and I'm going to trust them. And I also think there's ways to explore risky play in less risky ways where you might feel like you have a little bit more control. And I think an easy kind of starter place is by encouraging some independence in the home. So where can your child do some things at home that you would maybe do yourself? Can you get some kid-safe knives and let your kid chop some vegetables? Can you let them stir some things that you're baking or cook some things on the stove?
Yeah.
Because you are engaging in unsafe things there, but there's a little bit more predictability, and you are making yourself feel comfortable with engaging in an unsafe thing where you have a little bit more control because you're in your home.
Right.
Can you start there before bringing it outside?
And what a great way to encourage exploration as well. And then you can get into, healthy foods and things like that. If they have access to things, where they can cut up their own carrots or, peel their own apples,
And I
things
think
like that.
there can also be a lot of power in like sharing the expectation for that activity. Like
Yes.
if you do, decide to cook with your child or decide to take them out in an unfamiliar playground or trees to climb or something like that, you can share the expectations for that activity and say, hey, we're going to try something new. Let's talk about what it means to be safe on the tree or safe with the oven or safe with the child knives or whatever it might be. Let's talk about that beforehand. We use, we always use it with one hand holding the item and one hand pushing down. We always check and see how high we are before we keep going higher, or just like talking about the expectations with your child for the activity beforehand so that you have that opportunity to have a conversation with them about the safe things to think about, what to look for, what your expectations are to keep everybody safe during that activity.
And I think you can be honest with them too. You can say, I am feeling nervous about how high you're climbing, but I want to trust you. So if I ask you to pause for a minute, can we pause and just talk about what your plan is? That would make me feel more comfortable. And I think owning that is really helpful for our kids.
Sure. And it also helps you as the adult not to go to that far side of the spectrum as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a constant roller coaster.
It is.
I just need to wrap them in bubble wrap, they're not. We don't want them to be feral either. So
right. Well, playgrounds today too. Like I was talking to Nicole on the way over here. Like playgrounds today have opportunity for some challenge. And it's tricky because, you might have a 2-year-old versus a 4-year-old versus a 6-year-old, and all of the features of the playground are going to be differently challenging for everybody. And so also familiarizing yourself with the areas and thinking about what areas are safe for who and what your child's skills are versus the environment that you're about to enter into and what considerations you might have. Like we are going to stop at the top and say, ready, before we slide down the big slide, and like sharing some things based on what you know about your child and what would be a good just right challenge for them,
right,
where you're going.
Right. I know as a teacher, I always had to say, I don't mind if you jump to me but I need to know you're coming.
Yes.
You can't blindside me.
Yes.
That helps protect my body and your body.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, what about particularly play happening outside? What are some of the benefits of being outdoor for this risky play?
There's so much sensory immersion that happens outside versus inside in a controlled environment. You are feeling the grass, the leaves, the tree. Those are all different textures that you're experiencing. You are challenging your vestibular system, which is your sense of how high you are and where you are in space. And you're also using your proprioceptive system, which is what's in charge of that body control and that body awareness. So I feel like outside provides such a natural environment to immerse yourself in those sensory experiences. That's one of the benefits from my perspective as an OT.
and it's incredibly regulating. I feel like everybody has had a baby or a child that is having a meltdown for one reason or another, and you take them outside and it's done. That
Yeah.
state change, the sensory stimulation from being outside is so soothing and regulating for the nervous system.
Absolutely. And there's lots of big spaces and little spaces
Yes.
too.
Yes.
That child that needs the squishing or
Yes.
the child that just needs to have that freedom.
You
too.
have the
So
kids that go to the top of Monkey Hill and roll down,
right.
and then you have the kids that kind of are just a little more
Just wanna
cautious
scoot
about
on their
it.
booty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having natural environments that, you know, just provide opportunity for a variety of different kinds of play and
And it
challenging
becomes
play.
equal opportunity for everybody, right? Like
Sure.
for those different types of players, they can all play together and get the stimulation they're seeking.
That's great. Well, I know that oftentimes it's important for us to tie these things into some of the skills that they're going to use in school. So what are some of the benefits of allowing this type of play early on as they're moving into a school setting?
I really think I just keep bringing it back to that intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
When we try something over and over and over, we feel confident in ourselves. We feel like we can do hard things. That is going to build that intrinsic motivation for challenging tasks in the classroom. It's going to improve attention, executive function. We're seeing a lot of executive function challenges nowadays. Kids with short attention spans, kids that have difficulty problem solving, kids that have difficulty scanning their environment. And playing outside, doing risky play, engaging in risky play is going to promote the development of all of those skills.
Absolutely. And from an OT's perspective, if you have a child who's kind of sensory averse or doesn't want to touch mud or water or things like that, what are some ways to help kind of facilitate that or help your child feel more comfortable with those?
Yeah, we honestly starting really small. Starting small where your child can be successful. If that means, you know, bringing in a little bit of leaves from outside to put in a little bin at home with just some items in it for them to find underneath the leaves, that's a really great way to start really small before immersing your child in maybe a more overwhelming outdoor environment. And from a touch perspective too, a lot of times being able to provide your child with a confident food experience is just one way to get some sensory input and to work on the tactile system, again, without it being overwhelmingly tied to something big. So we love involving kids in cooking. That's one of our favorite immersive sensory experiences. Or just taking a small step backwards and looking at your child and seeing what's hard and trying to take that down a notch.
And I also think it can be as simple as letting your kid be really messy when they eat or do art, like not wiping their face after every single bite or wiping their hands, because that is going to promote them tolerating more sensory input and not needing to be clean all the time. And they're going to engage in that messy play that we know is so good for them.
Right, right. Well, it's all such an important thing. So I want to make sure that we cover all of the things that are the most important to share with
Yes.
families. Is there anything else that is important for us to let our families know?
I think recognizing and supporting your own body when your child is engaging in things that are challenging or risky, that's probably the biggest take home that I have from a regulation and parent self-awareness perspective is
Yeah.
just, we all have a lot of anxiety these days. I have a lot of anxiety and I understand that about myself. And so I've put things in place, deep breathing strategies or mantras like we talked about, or things that I can do to prepare myself before I go into an environment that might trigger some anxiety or some stress.
Absolutely.
And so I think if parents are thinking about that ahead of time and setting their own body up for success before going into a situation that might be a little hard with their child, that would be me. What would be yours?
I think it's exactly the same thing. I think our never-ending conversation in our work with parents is, what are your triggers? Identifying what your triggers are in each phase of parenting, and it changes every few months based on the phase of parenting that you're in, so that you know how to regulate your own body so that you can be there to support your child as they explore new tricky and scary things.
Yeah.
Because so much learning happens with challenge.
Absolutely.
And so much learning happens with risk, and your kid learning to understand their limits is going to be such a valuable life skill in the future. So really supporting yourself so that you can support your child.
Put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you both so much for being
Yes.
with us
You're
today.
welcome.
This was a lot of great information, and we certainly want to make sure that people know that Ripples
Yes.
Child Development
Yes.
LLC is your organization, and y'all are available for consulting and information to parents,
Yes.
as well as those of us that are in the field as well. But this is such an important topic, and we just thank you guys a lot
Of
for
course.
being
Thank
with us.
you.
This was
Yeah.
some great information.
Thank you,
And
Pam.
if you have questions about that, please feel free to share those with us here at the museum, and we can certainly make contact with our new friends here and get some more information. So we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in October.